Okay, let's go.
Yes, I've never done it on the iPad, so I'm not entirely sure on that.
Okay, yeah, I found it.
Okay, so we're all good to go.
Yeah.
All right, maybe make sure I got my notes up and such. Okay, so everyone probably knows me, but I'll introduce myself anyway. I'm John Miller with Internetic. We are a support company in Louisville and Middletown specifically. We do basically everything. So support projects, networks, servers, hardware, desktops, laptops, cell phones, everything like that. We generally do business to business support. So in this video, we're going to talk about QR codes for your business and kind of how they work. So So QR codes, if you're not familiar with them, they are the thing on the left here. The looks a little crazy. So the barcode we're all used to is the one on the right. That's called a one-dimensional code. So it can only be read left to right. So usually you see like Kroger's or wherever they use the lasers, it just reads it straight across. The width of these bars tells it what number it's looking for. It can only be read in generally one orientation. With QR codes, you have these three dots here. They're called eyes. That lets it be read at any orientation. So you can spin it, you can flip it, you can turn it upside down. It doesn't care. It does give its orientation. So they're called a two-dimensional barcode because they are read both up and down rather than just sideways. These can actually contain a ton of data. Old style barcodes like the 1D1, I think a max of like 20 some odd characters. It kind of varies depending on how compressed they can get it, how good the reader is. The QR codes, if you're using alphanumeric, that means letters, numbers, and like punctuation, can contain about 4,000 characters. You got a ton more data in there. You really see them used for that much data though, because that just gets come a little crazy. They also have error correction in them, so it's kind of nice. So unlike the old barcodes, if you got damaged, they were unreadable. With QR codes, they have what's called error correction, so it's got like some redundant data in there, so they can be damaged. So like if part of it's missing, gets scratched off, gets written over, it'll still work. The nice side effect of that is you can actually have a logo in it. So you'll see sometimes we'll show a demo of this as well. In the middle here, you can actually put your own logo there. It just kind of makes a nice little touch there. They are commonly read by smartphones such as iPhones, and Androids. If it's on current firmware for both the iPhone and Android, the camera app will read it. You don't need a separate QR code app. In most cases, I'd actually recommend against using a QR code app just because so many of those are not trustworthy. There have been a lot of news recently where a lot of those apps actually have spyware or malware in them, so scammy stuff. So the iPhone, I think iOS 12 and above, I got to double check that. And both of those, I think that's been released 2 or 3 years ago. And the iPhone current or that app, the Android current, just open the camera app and look at it, and it'll pull it up. I'll actually show that in a few minutes here. So some of the real world uses. So they have a ton of uses. A lot of people actually don't know how many things you can do with these. Um, they're very flexible. The most common use of all, shipping labels. So if you've got anything from UPS, Amazon, or FedEx, they all have QR codes on them. The reason to do this is as the package goes through their sort machines, it doesn't matter what orientation or angle, whatever it's on, it can always read it. So and they're on every package. So God knows how many packages they handle a day. Those all have QR codes on them. Second most common is definitely websites. So that's the one that everyone knows about. If you scan a QR code to pull up a website, like menus at food establishments, you're seeing a lot right now from COVID. So a lot of I'm trying to think when I've been to recently that's got this, but you see like the QR code will be inside all of these. It's like a little plexiglass it's like a little thick little piece of plexiglass, and they put the QR code inside it because you can't like wash a menu with sanitizing stuff. But a little piece of plexiglass with a QR code, and you can just throw in the washer or just hit it with some sanitizing stuff, and you're good to go. Dairy Queen has like up here in Middletown a bit. Dairy Queen has a nice one. They took a QR code and blew it up really big and put it on the outside of their building as like a poster, so you can see the menus. Just makes the life a little easier on that. I think Melting Pot. I am very food driven. Uh, Melting Pot has their menus on a QR code that's like taped to the booths. It's kind of small, but it is there. Excuse me. Roadside advertising is more and more popular these days. So if you've been down like Hurstbourne and such, we see the bus stops. They usually have like the little the benches on it. So like usually lawyers like those. So those benches are nice for QR codes because when most of us come to a stoplight, we probably pull out our phone because it's boring sitting there for 3 to 5 minutes, especially on Hurstbourne. So a lot of people pull out their phone and they'll QR. They're probably not going to QR code. But they'll see something like you've been injured, you deserve whatever. And you can just QR code real quick, and it'll pull up on your phone rather than type that address in. Social media is becoming more and more popular for directing people to Facebook, to Twitter, to whatever. So you see in like vets and doctors, mostly professional services type groups. So they go in, it's going to say something like, "How did we do? Rate us on Yelp, rate us on Facebook." So rather than trying to get you typing that long address in there, they'll have a QR code. So it has like that pretty icon says Dr. So and so's office, rate us on Facebook or release a review. You can QR code and it'll take you straight to the Google review, the Yelp review, or the Facebook review. Conference rooms, you're seeing this more at hotels these days. Because when you, especially if you're doing conventions, unfortunately not as many conventions right now, but for conference rooms and conventions, reprinting schedules. So if you have like a big convention where you have like 20 or 30 or 150 or however many attendee or not attendee, but people were there. I'm trying to remember the word for booths. Booths right word, I think. If you have a bunch of booths and sessions and things, it gets a little confusing. If we'll say a session has been shifted because of some sort of conflict or whatever, you can't just go out and reprint all these posters and everything. So it becomes just an issue. QR codes are nice for that because you can have it say, if you want to know when sessions are, you can print the one QR code, put it everywhere, and they can go to a website. And if something changes because of an announcement, because of someone got sick, because of having to shift things around, you can just update your website and it goes to everyone. So that's pretty popular. Joining Wi-Fi is one a lot of people don't know about, and it's kind of nice, especially for say conference rooms, for conventions, for like McDonald's and Heidi Brothers who has free Wi-Fi. Hotels is kind of nice too. So you can actually make a QR code so that when someone scans it, it will automatically tell the phone this we're joining this Wi-Fi with this password, with this encryption, and it won't just automatically join. It'll ask them if they want to join, but it does that. It gives that makes it easier. So if you say you have a small coffee shop or something, it's like, okay, we don't want to give it the password all the time. You can just have a little display next to the register and says join our free Wi-Fi. They mouse over, or they don't mouse over. They point their phone at it, and it just joins them straight onto it. Doesn't work as great for laptops because most don't have QR support without having additional application installed, but most people probably going to use their cell phones. Geocaching for entertainment purposes it does allow that. So it does allow you to make a QR code for a location. So it doesn't need to be just a website or Wi-Fi. It can actually be a specific location through latitude, longitude, or addresses. So when you I've seen this done a few times where you have like a kind of like a seek and find type thing or a scavenger hunt. You'll say like, here's your hint. And when you get there, there'll be a QR code that will pull up the next one or the next location you go to. That just makes it a little bit nice for that. SMS. So with QR codes, you can actually make an SMS. It won't send it automatically, but it'll pull it up and pre-format it for them. So it'll have like a phone number and the message you want to send. So you see those sometimes for contests. So say like 997 is at the Kentucky Fair. Say, join our contest. You just walk by, you can scan the QR code, and automatically enter you into the contest by texting some number to their thing. This is great for marketing because you can use that for statistical analysis to figure out how many people saw your advertisements, how many people came to your booth, type of thing. And it's just very easy to do. You can add contact to a phone, kind of like the V card, Me card, We card type thing, or like you see in Outlook with the ICS files, a few other types. So it's also great at conventions or business cards. So if you're at a convention, you can just, rather than having exchange business cards and have a stack of business cards at the end of the day, you can just use your phone and snap the QR code and it'll add that contact to your phone. I also see it's used for like B&Bs or Airbnbs. So rather than having we'll usually have on the refrigerator, they have a printout of all the contacts, like emergency contact for the person that owns it, who you're renting it from, whatever. You can also QR code it, and it'll add that contact to your phones and be like, okay, if there's an emergency, I know who to contact. You have to see those signs as well, not as often, but for things like generally professional services, they make sure you call Middletown Heating and Air or something like that when you have a problem, so you can add to your contacts so you can easily get it. ID badges, these are kind of less common. So like my own group, let me grab my ID badge here. Not sure you can see it in there, but we have QR codes on our ID badges. So if you scan this, it'll actually take you to our website. It'll take you directly to our team page, so you can verify that we are actually on the team. So someone doesn't try to impersonate us. So it always has like our picture on there. You can also use for an entry to a building or something. I haven't seen this very often, but you can use a QR code and you scan it in front of the reader and it lets you in. The magnetic key cards are still much more common, but those are the QR codes becoming more common. MFA means multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. You'll see it both ways, 2FA or MFA. So that is one of the more common uses, but it's more technical, so you don't see it as often. So when you go to some websites, especially banks or things with compliance, so a HIPAA, FERPA, financial compliance, they will usually want you to use a username, password, and a 2FA code. So if you're used to like the old RSA key fobs, we give you a little 6-digit code. This is a digital version of that. So you go to your bank, and say you type your name, type your password, and that 6-digit. And when you first set this up, it's going to ask you to basically to pull up your phone to install an authentication app or their own app, and you scan a QR code from the display, and then type in the code that gives it back to you. So that's just a way of another level of authentication. It's very helpful because they only last for like 30 seconds. So it's a good way of preventing hackers. That's something I'll actually go into in a blog post later on. So we've been over that. So I will actually show how to make one now. Put my thing here. Okay, so down to PowerPoints. So my favorite way of making QR codes is qrcode-monkey.com. I like it because it has a ton of features and it's free, and I like free. It makes life easy. So we have a couple options. URL, that's web address. That is the most common. A nice thing, you can do whatever you want in here. So internetic. I'm gonna drop that in there and tell it create QR code. I'm gonna make my own QR code here. You can add different colors. The only thing I'll say on this is make sure that it has enough contrast. So you can have any color you want. Like I would not do white on like gray on white. Make sure it has enough contrast that the system can see it. Remember that these are optical readers, not laser readers. So like on your phone, it uses the camera. So it has to be able to understand what it's got there. They're usually pretty good about it. The cameras are very high resolution these days, so it's pretty good. But in this case, if you do like if I do too close on this, at least on this website, it'll warn me and say you don't want to do this. So it's good about telling me, but just be aware. You can do logos. This is a nice little thing. I'm a big fan of this. So in this case, I'll add my own little logo to it. Let me grab all my logos here.
So John, can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
So on my phone, I just want to Google QR code-monkey.com. It's not an app. I don't want to do that from the app store. I just want to Google it and
yeah, it's a website. It's not an app.
Right.
So I've got my logo. Until it create QR code. I'll make my QR code. Just notice it has blocked out this with white here. That does not cause a problem. I actually recommend that. So you have the option of removing the background. I say don't do that because actually this one doesn't have transparency. So if you had one that had transparency, it would allow that the QR code to be over the logo. I say don't do that because it becomes confusing to it and it makes it harder to see your logo. But this logo with this QR code with this logo is totally readable. So I put your own in there. Just remember these things are going to be small. So if your logo is like a word, that becomes more problematic. If you have an icon logo, that's easier. If all else, you can use like different little icons, like a hotel, like a tiny hotel for a hotel, or if you're doing emails, you want to use like the little Gmail logo. Like we got this is going to an email, or if we're sending a thing to Facebook, we can say, okay, we're going to add the Facebook logo here. Tell it to remove that. There you go. With this one, you can do customized designs. In most cases, I don't recommend this because it confuses people, but it does have the option so you can do like weird little QR codey things. So for QR codes, data actually don't care how this looks as long as it recognizes that these are taking a spot on the QR code grid. I almost always recommend leaving it like normal QR code just for ease of understanding. When I make these, I always set them for the highest quality possible because it just makes it easier for use later on. So you have like marketing efforts. if you're going to put this on a website or a brochure or something, this size is fine. So you can just download PNG and it'll be fine. If you're going to blow it up, put it into like a high quality publication, make it large, make sure you do SVG or EPS. This means vector graphics. So what that does is normal graphics, if you scale them up, they become kind of distorted and stretched looking. So it's kind of like if you've seen the Dairy Queen picture they have outside their building, you can tell they took a little and blew it up. I mean, it works, but does not look great. We do with vector graphics. It basically it uses some crazy math to make it pixel perfect no matter what size you put it at. So you can make it 1 foot, an inch, or 100 feet. It will still look crisp. And most publication groups you're working with will probably want EPS format. That's a fairly standard one. So I'll just talk to whoever you're working with to do that. So you also got, so across the top here, we'll jump across these pretty quick. So text, this is just straight up text. I have never seen this used, but you can tell, like you can put like a small book in there and the QR code will read it. I think this is more commonly used for places like UPS where they probably have like their shipping information in this text thing for the computer to read. Email, if you want to send us an email, you put an email address in here with a subject and message so that when someone scans this QR code, it will open their email app on their phone and have it pre-written so they can just hit send. They won't send it for you. That's a security thing. Phone, as if you scan it, it'll just open the phone app. I would just put the phone number just because for human readability, if you're putting it in a publication or on your branding or on your website or whatever, it's easier for people to remember a phone number than it is for them to remember this QR code. It's just, we're not computers. SMS is text, same thing. You can probably type in the phone number and the text on their phone. They scan it and it will pop up the little text message and say, do you want to send it? Me cards, those are contacts, so contact cards. Location, you can do lat long, so latitude, longitude, or an address. Both work fine. But it does support Facebook, Twitter, YouTube out of the box, so that you can tell it if this is a Facebook page, it will open the Facebook app rather than opening in the browser. Most phones are actually pretty smart about that. That if you open a Facebook or YouTube web link, it will automatically open the app, but you don't have to. So you can tell it this specifically is a Facebook or Twitter page we're going to, so open the app and take them there instead of going to the website version. So YouTube, same sort of deal. Wi-Fi is where you want to join onto a Wi-Fi. So I'm gonna say like guest Wi-Fi. Password is blah blah blah. Encryption is we can help you on find what your encryption is. Most commonly WPA to WA2. That is the commonly accepted encryption. WEP is, I don't think it's any longer supported, but it's also been broken, so no one uses WP anymore, or at least they shouldn't be. WPA2 is the common one these days. So it's probably that or no encryption for like guest Wi-Fi's. Events, you actually can make an event on here, so kind of like an Outlook invite, so they can say like, say you're at the Honey Brothers and you have that board in the back and you have like current events going on in the area. So like, come to my band practice or come join my band or whatever. You can scan it in aisle and add it to your phone so that you can go to it later on. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, I've never seen it used, but it has the option. So we actually have our QR code here now. So let's actually use it. So I'm going to change this over a little bit. I'm going to take out the branding. There we go. So we have our QR code and it's going to the website. We're going to say, okay, I want to do something with this QR code. So download the PNG. This will spin for about 10 seconds here while it does its thing. I think it's actually faster than this. I think it just wants to make you look at the ad while it does this. That's my personal opinion, though. Okay. So you got the QR code here. And that's what it looks like. So I've got a little Word document here. So this is a template travel brochure. So this is a quick way of working with these. So we're going to add a QR code to our brochure. So there's nothing special here. This is just one I grabbed off of Microsoft template website. So what we're going to do to add it to a QR code to this is go to Insert and go to Pictures. And from this device, okay. And in this case, I put in my downloads directory. and grab one of those QR codes here. The problem is when you add it by default, it's going to move everything around. So you're going to mouse over it, and you get this little icon here. I click on that. So what this does, it tells the QR code or the image or whatever it is how it will interact with the text around it. We kind of want to take it out of the text because right now it's going to mess with our formatting. So you go down here to in front of text. So it just pulls it off the page basically. So when I do that, you'll notice like all the formatting goes back normal. And now we can actually move this around the page without any problems. So I'm going to put it back more or less where I had it. A little large right now. So you got these little circles around the edges. I'm going to grab one and I'm going to shrink it. The nice thing with Word is you don't have to worry about like shifting it to like making the aspect ratio wrong. So that means like making it wider than it is tall. It will always bring it straight in. So I got a little QR code there. I made it small enough. And so I'm going to do basically a print preview to see how it looks on our brochure here. It looks about right. It doesn't actually fit the best because the color scheme here, but we can change the color scheme if we want to. But it looks like it fits in pretty well. So as you go through, you can adjust the size of it, adjust the placement of it, move it around wherever you want to do with it. But most people white on black they're probably okay with. It's something that I always recommend is using what's called a link redirector. So in our case, we use Rebrandly. This does have a paid version, but for nearly every use case, the free version is fine. What Rebrandly does is say, I've made my QR code link to go to, I'm going to pull up my blog page here. So I've got this blog entry, and I've made a QR code for it. But later on, I delete that blog entry. So this one just gone now. So that QR code, wherever I put into publication, on pictures, on paper, on websites, wherever, now that QR code goes nowhere. That's a problem from a marketing point of view. So what we do is we actually use Rebrandly to redirect those links. So we say, okay, I'm going to make a new link here. Okay, I want this to go to this website. And it's going to give me, I'm going to tell it create link. And up here, I'm going to click on copy. So it's basically giving me this Rebrandly link. In my case, we actually have ours branded as our own thing, but you can have other branding as well. So like your own website, the Rebrandly's default one, I think it's like rebrand.ly. But when we enter this in, it will take us over to our website. So later on, say, okay, this site no longer exists. I can just go through, remove that, save. Same link, send me somewhere else. So Rebrandly is free up to like, I think, I'll have to take a look, but I think it's up to at least 200 links. Some of the nice things about it is it will watch how many people have clicked on these links. So it's kind of nice from an analytics point of view. The paid version gives you more analytics. I actually don't see a use in those for 99% of the time because Google Analytics does it better. And Google Analytics is free. So I would recommend using those. So in most cases, you're going to want these links to point to your website, to your blog, to your Facebook, something like that. And those usually have better analytics engines than Rebrandly will have in their paid version. So like in my own case, we're using this. We really only the free version works totally fine for us. So like the rebranding, all that works fine. So let's do a quick scan so I can show you how the scanning works. Okay, just give me a second to set my phone up here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a remote session with my phone so I can show it on the screen. Just take just a second. I'm going to show my phone on the list. That was a problem. I tested this before I did it, and it was working fine then. Okay, there it is. Okay, so we're going to do, I'm going to drag this over to where y'all can see it. Come on, give me the window. There we go. So what you're seeing right now is actually my phone. So I've got a little support system started on my phone. So like whatever, so you actually see what I'm looking at. So I'm going to open the camera app on my phone. So it's going to be a little slow because of what I'm doing. But so you can see I've got my camera app on my phone pointed at the QR code and says, where do you want to do something with this QR code link? I'm going to tap on the link. And it's going to pull it up. It's going to throw a fit with me because I think my Wi-Fi is being goofy. But it does, at the top you can see it pulled up the blog post. So that's on, I'm going to drag this back off the screen now. So on the iPhone and Android both, I have an Android here. I tested with this earlier as well. That one's a bit more problematic for doing remote sessions. It's the same thing. You point the phone at it, it'll bring up usually a little yellow crosshairs on it, say, do you want to do this? Do you want to send this text, to open this website, to do whatever? Tap on it and you're good to go. If you don't tap on it, it just doesn't do anything. Trying to make sure we got everything I had on my list. Yep. So I think that is the kind of the basis of QR codes. They have a ton of uses. I'd say get creative with them. They could do a great deal of things. Just I wouldn't be too crazy with them because they're not as popular yet, but they are becoming more and more popular every day, especially due to COVID. But if you have any questions, my group is always happy to help. We are available at our website here.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for John?
Yep.
No, I've actually been using them on my bottles. We've been using those and they go right to our certificates of analysis. So people can look right on our website to see, the quality and labeling and all that good stuff. Make sure there's no heavy metals and things in our oils. So yeah, it goes right to our website. So we've been using them for a while.
That's what I was thinking about using the QR code for the chamber, is that people could just scan that and it would take them straight to the website. What do you all think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
that's a pretty common use.
Then my question is, where would I use that QR code? Would I put it on our Facebook page? I mean, where would I want to put something like that? Because I'm backwards when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I need a little help.
You definitely want to put it on any mailings that you send out, like through the city.
Yeah, anything paper.
Yeah,
I would definitely.
Paper.
Oh, so okay, then let me ask you that. Let's say, because we're going to do a mailing here pretty soon. I guess I copy and paste that QR code onto the printed material before we print?
Yeah, depending on how you have your print material set up, if it's like a Word doc, yeah, do like I showed there, where you just insert the picture, set it as float, and you can drag it to wherever you want and resize it.
Okay.
If you have like a professional group doing these, I would send it to them and say, can you put this in here somewhere? And they can probably handle that fine. If all else, yeah, my group can help with that. That's just nothing new to us.
Okay, well, and is it something I can save to my desktop? So
yeah.
Okay.
So like,
okay.
In this case, yeah. So like on QR Code Monkey, I'm not sponsored by them. Yeah. So you got on your right side here, download PNG. Just click on that, and it'll spin for a bit and download the PNG file to your desktop. A PNG is an image file, so it can. I'm gonna close that one out. So it can be used anywhere. It's just a picture.
Okay. Would I want the QR code on my Facebook page? Or should I just keep it to mailings? Anything printed?
I don't see them used as often on Facebook pages because for most of us, a link works just as well.
Okay.
Especially like on digital media, so websites, blogs, anything like an internet site. You don't see them used as often unless it's going to something kind of long. Or if it's, I guess if you're opening on your phone, you can't scan your own phone for that because it becomes problematic. I don't see them used on Facebook usually because if you're on the website, it's usually easier to click on a link. Especially if you're on a phone already, like a mobile device, you can just tap on it rather than trying to scan on your own screen.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions for John?
No, but you did give me a lot of ideas on uses, a couple of them in our industry that I think will be very helpful. Because real estate agents may be going to name badges for ID purposes. And one of the issues that we came up with on that was that anybody can print something off their home computer. So how do you really verify that? And it was just like, ding, if it's got a QR code and it takes you to
That's what we do.
Yeah, that's great. So it takes it either to our website or the Kentucky, real estate commission. So that in and among itself was a good new purpose for that. But and adding it to the business cards and that type of thing.
I could see it for when I was looking for houses a couple years back. One of the frustrations I had when I was driving around. So I see a lot of the houses have like a little thing you can pull a piece of paper out and says like, this is the stats on this house. I could see a QR code being useful for those, so you can like, especially for people like, I want to say my age or probably younger than me, honestly. Like I'm 37. They'll probably be using their phones a lot for research on like Zillow and all that. But I can see it being useful for they drive by the house and look at it, and there's a QR code, like a little sign there, and it's like scan this. It takes them straight to your website, so you can actually tell. Two advantages I see of that is that it makes it easier because people don't like typing in addresses and they fat finger it, and you can also tell how many people have visited that website now.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you like a rough idea of how many people have seen that house.
There are a few agents that do that. It became popular and then kind of died off. The other advantage that's just purely, creature comfort wise is that you don't have to get out of your car and run through somebody's yard to pick it up. And every time it rains, the weather changes, you've got that, or it's empty. And I've went to the point where I pasted one inside. So even if somebody took the last one, it was still, I think people take those off. It's like, just write it down. But so the QR code is definitely something that I will be incorporating back into my yard signs. So that's a good aspect too.
Yep.
Well, it saves money too for you, Nancy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see you can only get so much on a flyer, but if you can link them straight to the website, and there's other apps that we can use that'll take them there too. But hey, whatever, if somebody's better used at a QR code snapping it as opposed to going to an app and fumbling through that. Like I say, our whole purpose, all of us, we just want to draw and drive the business to us, and everybody has different comfort levels on, what their technology level is. So, that was enlightening. That I wrote down 3 or 4 different things that I never thought of for using.
Yeah, this is going to be on my to-do list for the chamber. So it's like I said, I'm like Nancy, there a long time ago, it became real popular, and then it kind of went by the wayside. And then with COVID, it reintroduced itself. And, and actually, I think people are a little bit more technical savvy these days than they were just a few years ago, just because we've had to become that way.
Yeah, everyone knows Zoom now. I used to have to train people on how to use GoToMeeting and Zoom. Now it's like everyone I know knows how to use it already, just because you have to.
Yeah, and before COVID, I'd never heard of Zoom. I just had never heard of it.
Most people hadn't actually. Before COVID, Zoom was actually a very small company. They blew up by 8,000%, I think, since COVID kicked off.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they were panicking a little bit about that.
Yeah, I bet they were. All right. Has anybody else got any questions or comments for John?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So we will, you all are getting an extra 15 minutes to eat your lunch, to go get lunch or whatever. So John, I do want to say thank you very, very much. It was very enlightening. If you all need to go back and just refresh yourself on what he said, I have recorded the training. It will be on the website. And typically they notify me within the hour when the recording is ready. And so we'll have it up there by this afternoon.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, everybody have a great rest of the day. Enjoy the sunshine, and looking forward to seeing you all soon.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Laura.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, John.